good to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for saying yes to the interview. Could you briefly introduce yourself to our viewers, please?
Sure, I'm Nick White. I'm the COO at Celestia Labs, and we're building the first modular blockchain network called Celestia.
Great. Thank you so much. Where you based?
I live in Hawaii currently. That's where I was born and raised. But I travel a lot for work. We have a team that's distributed all over the world, and obviously sometimes I come to different blockchain conferences.
Yeah.
I'm here at Korea Blockchain Week, so yeah, travel a lot.
Thank you. Welcome. Welcome to Korea. So we would like to know what was the first coin that you ever bought, when and why did you buy it?
The first coin I ever bought was Cardano. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. That's a joke. I think
Okay.
it was Ethereum. I think I bought it in 2017. I think I bought Bitcoin around the same time. And I bought it because I was falling down the rabbit hole, and I realized that I thought that crypto was the future and wanted to, be part of it. And so it felt different also taking the plunge versus like just being on the sidelines. You know, like it kind of forced me to put into action my beliefs, which was a really good step towards bringing me fully into crypto when I quit my job in 2018 to actually work full time in crypto.
Wow. What was the motivation behind the creation of Celestia, and what are some prevailing problems that you were trying to solve?
So the motivation of Celestia is to solve a few key problems in blockchain infrastructure. The first one is scalability. So Celestia is trying to make it possible for you to have a blockchain that doesn't have a fixed finite block space, but can actually expand the amount of transactions it can process with the number of nodes in the network. So that's a really big motivation. Another one is that Celestia wants to give more choice and power and flexibility to developers. So what Celestia does is it's modularized the blockchain stack in a way that enables developers to actually really customize and have more choice over which sort of components and how they build their applications in a way that you can't get if you're building a smart contract. So those are the two really big things that Celestia is like trying to solve.
Celestia is still in the testnet phase, but when it launches Mainnet, what will be the main use case of Celestia, and who should use Celestia, do you think?
So you're right, we're on testnet and we're very close to launching Mainnet.
Great.
So once we launch later this year, the people who should use Celestia are people who want to build applications on a platform that is scalable and gives them customization. And so this is everything from app chain builders who have an idea for an application. They want to build a application specific blockchain for that use case, but they want to avoid having to go through the effort of recruiting a set of validators and also having to maintain and upkeep a full blockchain protocol with a consensus network. Because on Celestia you can launch a blockchain, but you don't have to actually go through the effort of bootstrapping a validator set and all this other stuff. So it really dramatically reduces the overhead for building your own blockchain.
Wow.
So that's one of the key users. But also I don't want to make it sound like you have to be have like protocol level programming experience. You can just be more of like an application layer developer, and we have you can deploy your own rollup using frameworks like Optimism. There are rollup as a service companies that make it very easy to do this. So you don't have to be some kind of expert. So even if you're just building a simple app, but you want to build it on your own chain for more dedicated scaling, or to capture more value, this is another option for those kinds of developers too.
Thank you so much. So Celestia is one of the leaders of modular blockchain technology. So how is Celestia different from monolithic blockchains like Ethereum, and also how is it different from Cosmos?
That's a really good question. So monolithic blockchains are all the blockchains basically that have been built, all the other layer ones that have been built so far, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, most of the chains that people are familiar with. And a monolithic blockchain does all the functions of a blockchain within one protocol. So every blockchain needs to do consensus, data availability, and execution in order to function and actually, build an application that people can use. The thing is, when you do all those functions in one protocol, you end up with limitations and in terms of scalability and flexibility that we talked about earlier. And so Celestia's main insight was that you could split these functions into separate layers, and different protocols could take on different layers of the stack and be optimized for that specific purpose. And then you could take these protocols and actually stack them on top of each other to build the end application. And so what Celestia does is we take the bottom two layers of the stack, consensus and data availability, and just focus on that. And we don't do any execution. So there's no smart contracts, there's no applications directly on Celestia. You have to run a rollup, which is like its own blockchain that leverages Celestia to run applications and have execution and smart contracts. So, and when you do this, you get the benefits I talked about earlier, where you get more scalability, you can deploy a blockchain very easily with low overhead, you get the ability to customize your blockchain for your application. So that's the movement, the modular blockchain movement that Celestia is pioneering and trying to lead.
Right. Wow, thank you. So we know that Celestia has made Rollkit, and we would like to know what is Rollkit and what's the advantage of using Rollkit compared to using other like Tendermint, zk-proof, or Optimism.
So Rollkit is what we call a rollup framework, meaning that it is a open source code base that helps you to deploy your own rollup.
Right.
So what Rollkit is it allows you to plug in an application or like a state machine, like the logic of a blockchain, into Rollkit that then plugs into Celestia. So it kind of acts as this adapter to Celestia. So it handles things like the sequencing of your rollup and the posting of data and the peer-to-peer network of your rollup. And so basically what it does is it makes it very easy to build a blockchain on Celestia. And it exposes this very specific interface called ABCI, which comes from actually the Cosmos world. So ABCI is the interface between Tendermint or Comet BFT and the Cosmos SDK. So you can very easily deploy any Cosmos SDK or Cosmos compatible blockchain on top of Rollkit. And how does it compare to things like Optimism or some of these like zero knowledge based rollups? The main thing is I would say it's built specifically for like sovereign rollups more so. So sovereign rollups are different to the standard rollup in that they don't settle their blocks to anywhere. They post their proofs to the peer-to-peer network directly so that the users verify it. And then also Rollkit is ABCI compatible, so it's very like it caters well to the Cosmos ecosystem. I think in the future more and more like execution layers will become compatible with ABCI, and I think that's like so Rollkit's a little bit ahead of the curve there.
For the blockchain builders who are thinking of like building on or migrating to Celestia, so how can they get started and what kind of support can they get?
So blockchain builders who are thinking about building or migrating to Celestia, we have a lot of support in the form of not just the Celestia core team and developers, but also a bunch of partners who are building frameworks or even sort of like, what's the word, like services to help you build your chain. So for example, one example of this are rollup as a service teams who basically make a platform so that you can, with one click, deploy your own rollup on top of Celestia.
Right.
So one specific team that's doing this that I'm a fan of is Caldera, and like an example of a team that migrated with Caldera was Manta. So Manta network was originally building on top of Polkadot, I believe, and then they realized that they wanted to switch to a roll-up model, and they wanted to build on top of Celestia as their data availability layer, and Caldera has helped them to successfully do that migration. They now have a testnet that's running on top of Celestia, and so like that's one way to do it. I think for like Cosmos-based chains, the fact that Rollkit exists is really helpful, because they can just take their blockchain like Cosmos SDK application and then take it, and rather than running it on Tendermint with a full consensus network, they can just run it on top of Rollkit on Celestia. So that's like a good way to migrate. And in general, the Celestia team is always like willing to help, and I think that we'll increasingly see people wanting to launch chains in this way, because it just makes so much more sense. It's more economical.
Celestia's Quasar is Celestia's light node app for macOS, I believe. And I think it's not that common to run nodes on devices instead of on servers, right? So what is Celestia envisioning with this Quasar?
So Quasar is an application that was built by my colleague Josh Stein, and what it does is it takes a Celestia light node and it runs it on a Mac OS device. And so let me back up a little bit and explain what a Celestia light node is. So because this is one of the things that really differentiates Celestia as compared to other monolithic blockchains. And so a Celestia light node is a new type of node that enables anyone to verify the Celestia blockchain directly on their phone or on any device. So typically with a monolithic blockchain like Ethereum, you need quite a beefy laptop, a computer, to verify the chain. And or with like Solana, for example, you need like a supercomputer in the cloud to actually verify the chain. But at Celestia, we really believe it's important for people to be able to verify the chain directly, rather than relying on trusting someone else to tell them what if the chain is valid or not. And so what's cool is the Celestia light node verifies it directly, and it's very, very light, because it does what's called data availability sampling. So rather than having to download and verify the full block, it can just download a few samples of the block, like a few kilobytes, and
samples.
Then it has a very high guarantee that the block is valid. And so I actually have a Celestia light node
so cool.
running here, and so it's successfully verifying the chain. So this is on an Android phone, but in the long term,
like this before.
our goal is to make it so that anyone can run this on any phone.
Wow.
And that way we'll have people that are actually, everyone in the world should be able to verify Celestia directly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very impressive. Thank you so much. So Mintscan has been supporting Celestia testnet, and we would like to hear what do you like about it, and what are some features that you maybe want to add to it?
Yeah, Mintscan has been awesome to support Celestia from very early days. I think from our very first testnet.
Right.
And it's been super useful to have Mintscan, because it allows us to see the different delegations and sort of like the status of the network and everything. And it's also integrated naturally with all the other like Cosmos infrastructure, so it all just works out of the box and has been super helpful. The only features I can think to add to Cosmostation that are a little bit Celestia specific is first, I think, so in Celestia, our blocks are a little bit different because they don't actually have any execution, so there's no smart contracts. So it'd be cool to be able to inspect the block and look at the different namespaces in the block and what the different like blob transactions data are. But I don't know if that's something that would be, useful to Cosmostation to implement, but it would be really cool for us. And then another one would be maybe there's a way to run one of these light nodes in the browser. So like I think in the future we envision people at home when they're just using Block Explorer or using their wallet on the browser, they will actually be running a light node in the background. So that could be something that Mintscan could implement too.
Yeah. I think everyone is so curious about this question. When mainnet?
Ooh, that's a very good question. So I have good news, which is Mainnet will be in the next few months, but
Great.
definitely before the end of the year.
Okay.
We're targeting, by the end of October if everything goes well.
Oh, great. So close.
Very close.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Very excited.
yeah, but as you know, with all these kind of launches, it's very difficult to predict the exact timing.
Right.
But we're very close. So yeah.
Okay. Very excited. Thank you so much. Okay, last question. Is there anything you want to say to potential customers or builders in Korea?
I want to say that I really love the enthusiasm for crypto in Korea. It just feels like this is one of the countries in the world that has the most forward-looking sort of view on crypto and blockchain, both all the way from the government level, all the way down to the individual users. And I think that I wish that this kind of attitude was sort of more widespread around the world. And so if you're a builder or if you're a user, I really encourage you to learn more about modular blockchains. I think that they're the future for how blockchains will get built. And I think that Korea could also be a leader in the modular blockchain movement. So that's what I would say.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you. Yeah, my pleasure.